Your mic will be on as well. Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the council meeting of February 26, 2024. The meeting is being live streamed on the Town of Kentville YouTube channel, and the most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting package? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? I will remind members of council that we are in decision-making mode and we should be mindful of our decision-making wheel. We will be voting by electronic means for all votes except administrative. And are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before the meeting commences? And I will note that we have quorum. We have been provided with a proposed agenda. Are there any further additions to the agenda? CAO?
Your Worship, there are 4 additions. Under Business Arising, Item 4C, King's Transit Budget Approval, Motion to Amend. Under New Business, 6B, Future of Climate Resilient Coastal Communities Announcement. And 6C, G62, Public Participation Policy. And under 9C, Legal Land, which will be part of the in-camera discussions.
All right, thank you very much, CAO. Councillor Gerard.
I would like to add, hopefully under 4, the pallet community. And I know people are gonna say there's no new information and it's in the county and it's the province is just doing it, but I think until we get a meeting with all the appropriate people, or we should keep this on the agenda and top of mind until we get answers. I'd like that added, and if it's something that's contention, I'd like to put it to council.
All right. Do you have any, what are you seeking here?
I'm seeking a conversation on, perhaps another letter going to the appropriate government entities to find out exactly what's going on, because nobody has come forth from the province, from any department, to say this is what's happening and this is what we're gonna do. I attended, as you attended, the meeting at the fire hall, and I'd like a definition of wraparound services that we heard 100 times that night, but absolutely no definition. So, as I say, I'd like it to be on the agenda every time until somebody comes here to council or to a public meeting to say, this is what we intend on happening.
All right, thank you, Councillor. So I will put this out to council for a decision on adding this to the agenda. So we do have a request to add an item to the agenda. Council, by show of hands, how many of you wish to see this on the agenda? So that's 3. How many of you do not wish to see this on this evening's agenda? And that's 4. So it will not go on this evening's agenda. However, if you do wish to have it on the agenda for CAC, please send an email to the CAO so that we can get it on and that we have folks here who are prepared to speak to it. All right, CAO?
Yes.
Is there anything further to the agenda? Oh.
What was 6B? I'm sorry, I have 6C and 62. What was 6B?
Future of Climate Resilient Coastal Communities announcement.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
All right, so if I would accept a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Councillor Huntley, thank you. And Deputy Mayor for the second, thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Jennifer, you got that?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, you have the minutes from the January 29th, 2024 council meeting. They've been distributed for your review. If there are no changes, the minutes are approved as distributed. If there are changes, the recording secretary will annotate those. Are there any changes? None? All right, all good. Moving right along. So our first order of business is with regards to the municipal planning strategy amendments, second reading. We've held the public hearing this evening, and there were two recommendations coming out of the public hearing. The first is with regards to a recommendation for approval of second reading. And to that, we will have a motion that council approves second reading of the MPS amendments. If someone could move that, please. Deputy Mayor, thank you. And for the second, Councillor Huntley, thank you. It's been moved and seconded that council approves second reading of the MPS amendments. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is that council approves second reading of the MPS amendments. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. And the second recommendation we had coming out of the public hearing was with regards to direction to inform Kings County of these changes, and CAO, if you would take that direction to inform them that we are making these changes.
I will, Your Worship.
Thank you. And further, we have the other item with the public participation on our agenda under new business. All right, so moving right along. We have Valley Waste budget approvals, and we're doing it as an amend something previously adopted. And at the January 29th meeting of council, council passed a resolution to adopt the 2024-2025 operating and capital budgets for both Valley Waste and King's Transit. It was noted after adoption of these motions that there were errors. And the error was completely on me. I incorrectly transferred the data from one sheet to another. And the motion reads that council amend the previously adopted motion for the Valley Waste fiscal 2024-2025 operational budget as follows, in the amount of $6,859,565, and further that council approve the fiscal 2024 capital budget in the amount of $2,540,000 for which the town of Kentville has no requirement for the contribution. And further, that council approves, so that is the change, is that we had to approve the capital budget even though we had no requirement to make the contribution. And further, that council approved the municipal contribution in the amount of $6,859,565. The town of Kentville's 10.33% share is $708,444. Someone could move that, please. Councillor Zabian, thank you. Deputy Mayor for the second, thank you. It's been moved and seconded that council amend the previously adopted motion for the Valley Waste fiscal 2024-2025 operational budget as follows, in the amount of $6,859,565, and further that council approve the fiscal 24-25 capital budget in the amount of $2,540,000 for which the town of Kentville has no requirement for contribution. That's the amendment. Further, that council approve the municipal contribution in the amount of $6,859,565. The town of Kentville 10.33% share is $708,444. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to amend the previously adopted motion for the Valley Waste fiscal 24-25 operational budget as follows, in the amount of $6,859,565, and further that council approve the fiscal 24-25 capital budget in the amount of $2,540,000 for which the town of Kentville has no requirement for contribution, and further that council approve the municipal contribution in the amount of $6,859,565. The town of Kentville 10.33% share is $708,444. Say that 3 times really fast. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. And I did the same thing with the King's Transit motion. So we have a motion that council amend the previously adopted motion for the King's Transit fiscal 2024-2025 operational budget in the amount of $836,948, and further that council approve the 24-25 capital budget in the amount of $5,630,000, and further that council approve the municipal operating grant in the amount of $1,729,103. The town of Kentville's 20% share is $345,820. And further that council approve the municipal capital grant in the amount of $80,000, of which town of Kentville's 20% share is $16,000. Someone could move that, please. Councillor Zabian, thank you.
Second.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council amend the previously adopted motion for the King's Transit 24-25 operational budget in the amount of $3,836,948, and further that council approve the 24-25 capital budget in the amount of $5,630,000, and further that council approve the municipal operating grant in the amount of $1,729,103. The town of Kentville's 20% share is $345,821, and further that council approve the municipal capital grant in the amount of $80,000, of which town of Kentville's 20% share is $16,000. Is there any discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to amend the previously adopted motion for King's Transit fiscal 24-25 operational budget in the amount of $3,836,948, and further that council approve the 24-25 capital budget in the amount of $5,630,000, and further that council approve the municipal operating grant in the amount of $1,729,103. The town of Kentville's 20% share is $345,821, and further that council approve the municipal capital grant in the amount of $80,000, of which the town of Kentville's 20% share is $16,000. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. And we have no recommendations arising from the CAC meeting held on February the 12th. That moves us directly into our councillor reports. And our councillor reports are presented monthly by each member of council, detailing their committee and community work in support of the town of Kentville. And these reports have been provided and are part of the record. And I would encourage councillors to provide a few highlights of their work over the last month, starting with Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Worship. Actually, all of my committees fell outside the parameters of previous to January 29th, and my last one, or my next one was last Friday, which the chair of the police commission, I'm sure, will give a detailed report, so I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. I again wanted to go to some meetings, but they weren't due monthly. I've got some quarterly, but there was one that came up, was the Valley Regional Enterprise Network. Short one, we had election to vote on a new board member. KCA Pancake Breakfast was the Kentville event. That was an absolute awesome event, and the kids were so excited to come around and serve and talk to you. So thank you to them. I've got all my meetings listed, but I wanted just pull some attention to a couple of the meetings. You'll notice through the meetings there is a meeting with Valley Wren and the Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency, Women Unlimited, Women in Trades, So what I am working with the Valley Wren and Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency is we are going to do an info session on apprenticeship at the fire hall. We've got the date set right now, and as all the plans come together, I'll update everybody. But I had a great meeting with the Valley Wren and the Apprenticeship Agency, and they're all fired up to do it. So it's about education. Of course, apprenticeship, the time is now, and I'll keep you updated as I learn more. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So you're not going to sneak us the date?
No.
All right. Moving right along. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. February 13th, we had a Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition funding discussion with various partners and the chair of the coalition. Several municipalities met over Zoom with the chair of the coalition to hear the financial situation of the coalition and the announcement that the province was not going to fund this upcoming fiscal. A way forward needs to be found for the survival of the coalition and the health of the Harvest Moon Trailway. We looked at the cash flow for the next couple of months to see if we can reach, and that was that meeting. And then on the 21st, I had a coalition meeting, and where we looked at the cash flow for the next couple of months to see if we can reach the new fiscal. And it looks like yes, if outstanding contributions are paid, we should be able to get through to the new fiscal. The good news at this point was that the province has backtracked a bit and now indicates they will give some funding for this upcoming fiscal. It may or may not be the full $20,000 they usually contribute. We discussed a plan for moving forward and set up a task team of 4 members who will come up with a plan to be presented at our next board meeting in April. On February the 19th, Heritage Day, I went to visit the Kentville Heritage Center. I was very impressed with the new reading room that they've set up at the center, the various displays, and this is a big and, the crowd that was there when I attended. It was heartwarming to see so many people out at the Heritage Center, and that was continuous from what I hear through the entire day. I think about this small group of citizens who wanted to preserve our town's history. They formed a society, pressed on through adversity, and have grown into a committed, viable group that has now established this wonderful center. They are now growing and now provide an important and significant contribution to our town, and I just want to send out my thanks for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. February 1st was a regional sewer committee meeting where we had an ops update and a compliance update. They announced that we would be having a full 5-year capital and operating budget coming at the ensuing meeting. The 14th of Feb, I had a meeting, a KBC meeting with CEO Lawrence and Lindsay, as well as 2 representatives from KBC, and they wanted to discuss staffing complement and the upcoming annual budgets. February 21st was the IMSA board meeting. Mayor Snow will, I suspect, cover that in her updates. February the 14th was Investment Advisory Committee, where our investment advisor reported on the portfolio value, which is still just north of 13 million. We had some discussions around how the reporting is done for Investment Advisory Committee, and essentially discussed how to condense this for the general public. More to come on this. We're still in discussions. The markets are starting to rally in the 2024 year with possible delays in the interest rate cuts by the Bank of Canada, probably around May or June. Our bond ratings remain unchanged, and we are poised to withdraw the necessary funds to satisfy our operating budget. My apologies, I have capital budget in there in the amount of $460,000. February 21st was a KBC board meeting, minutes to follow at our next council meeting. February the 22nd was another regional sewer committee meeting Essentially, that whole meeting was around budget deliberations where we talked about capital and operating. There's more to come on this. I make mention there that both budgets are fairly hearty, and we need to get more granular with both budgets to understand the actuals and what amounts will actually be required from the respective partners around the table. February the 22nd was the audit committee meeting. We discussed a number of things: the member application process, management letter response, information around FRAM, which is the financial reporting and accounting manual updates, and we talked about the 2023-2024 audit planning. Number of events that I attended: the KPS ceremony for David McDonald promotion to sergeant. I attended a webinar on homelessness. The 31st, an info session on 36 exhibition that was put on by Open Arms, and that was a session outside. It was a very, very chilly night, and I thought that was fitting to understand how people who live rough spend most of their nights. January 31st, meeting with a citizen, and Feb 1 was a meeting with CAO Lawrence. February the 7th, there was a meeting at the fire hall. It was a citizen-led meeting held to present and discuss tiny home location on Exhibition Street. And I just have noted there that Minister Lohr was in attendance, but Department of DCS was not there, not DSC. Thanks to Fiona Van Wigglenberg for hosting and making the meeting happen. February the 10th was Fire and Ice Weekend. I attended a number of events there. February 13th was the Shrove Tuesday Pancake Supper, and February the 19th was Heritage Day. I attended the same breakfast that Councillor Huntley did at the Kentville Volunteer Fire Hall, the fundraiser for their Quebec trip, and then I visited the Historical Society the same day, and I just make note that we have a real gem here in our town. I too will echo exactly what Councillor Maxwell said. There were a lot of people there. It was packed, and they have done an amazing job with that society, and so certainly kudos and thanks goes out to that committee that run it all as volunteers. So, and I think that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor York.
Thank you. It was a bit of a busy month with some regular meetings between strategic planning and Valley Regional Library and Kings Point to Point. It's a lot of budget meetings, 'tis the season. Most notably was the Board of Police Commission. We received a piece of correspondence from citizens of North Kentville. It came via Fiona, who was also leading the community, or who led rather the community meeting of February 7th. That letter outlined a lot of the community's concerns with specific examples, with some questions as well. The board read it, and we also discussed how we were going to respond to it. So some of it is operational and outside of our purview. There is a lot that is under our governance purview, so we will be responding to those items, and we'll be responding through Fiona, who will also just get that back out to the community. Additionally, we discussed at the Board of Police Commission what our next steps can be, because we have some of the same concerns, or same questions rather, as it relates to policing and the role of the Town of Kentville Police Service. So we will be writing on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners a letter to the County of Kings as the municipal partner on the tiny homes community, as well as the new Minister of Community Services, Brendan McGuire, in addition to Housing Minister John Lohr, asking questions as it relates to Kentville Police Service. What does that look like? What is a model or a memorandum of understanding that we can move forward with, and where, if anywhere, we are with those conversations. So those are conversations that are happening at the Board of Police Commission's table. A lot of the discussion is happening in the community as well, and that's why it's coming to us at this table. We had an audience at that meeting, which is not necessarily common, but it was welcome to be able to hear and engage with citizens more or less on a one-on-one level, but certainly to hear the concerns moving forward and what the concerns are today, and what it is specifically as it relates to policing was just invaluable. So we will be having those conversations continuously around the board table, but those conversations from the board are then tied to action items like letter writing campaigns, I suppose. So anyway, that's what's happening at the police commission level. Kings Point to Point is, or has rather, had a budget meeting. Like a lot of other groups, they are falling short. One of the key pieces is that they have had government funding from the federal level and the provincial level to purchase new vehicles, but those new vehicles have been stuck in New Brunswick in the supply chain hangups as it relates to seats, if I'm not mistaken. So while they do have 2 or 4 brand new vehicles, they are continuously running old vehicles, which drives up the maintenance costs, which drives up their budget costs. So there will be a letter from Kings Point to Point addressed to the Kentville Town Council. So once I receive that, I will send it both to the CAO, and then from there we can figure out if it needs to go to council as a whole, or if it rests with you. I suspect it's council as a whole, but eventually. I attended a lot of the same events as my colleagues here, but I also attended the Fire and Ice Festival that took place the week of February 9th through the 13th. So kudos to the Parks and Recreation staff and the KBC Events Committee who put that on. I think it's the first Fire and Ice in about 5 years that has actually reflected the ice side of things. And they were successful in having a sledding party for the first time in 5 years. So kudos for ordering that weather perfectly. That's my update. Everything else was more or less covered off. The biggest news bits have been discussed.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Sapien.
Thank you, Mayor Snow. The only committee meeting that I had in the last month was with the audit committee, which Deputy Mayor Savage has touched on. Discussion again on the management letter and the release of it to the committee. As she mentioned, there was a resignation of 1 member, so there will be a call of interest coming out soon for an appointment of a citizen to join that committee. And the only thing that I'm going to touch on again, and I'm going to echo the 2 gals or 3, I guess, that have spoken on it, is the Heritage Center. That group does a bang-up job. I think when I was there, you couldn't move. They had at least 50 or 60 people there, and just kudos to former Councillor Lynn Pulsifer and the whole crew that keep this place shining, because we are very lucky to have them. Thank you.
Thank you. CAO, did you have any updates on the operational side of the house?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll touch on 3 or 4 items. We are well into budget season now. We have been meeting to discuss capital, which we hope to bring forward in March, and operational, which will be April/early May. As part of those discussions, we've been talking about departmental priorities and also long-term administrative structure for the organization and how we would best be able to deliver. Preparing for contract negotiations with KPS, Kentville Police Service. Discussion and moving forward with how to roll out a planning and development department, gathering job descriptions from the usual comparators, salary bands, that sort of information, as well as just familiarizing myself with what are departmental issues and issues that are impacting the community.
All right, thank you very much, CAO. And for my report, you have it in your packages. Just a few highlights. The Valley Wren continues to meet or bring us together as part of the Regional Economic Development Task Force. So the mayors of Kentville, Berwick, Kings, Wolfville are joined with the folks from Acadia and NSCC Kings Tech. And what we hear is updates on the economic activities that are going on in our region, and a lot of good news from that side of the house. On the intermunicipal service agreement groups, our big portfolios right now are Valley Waste and of course Kings Transit. And Kings Transit received funding with regards to the fact that it is a transit system. So we have money for the electrification, and WSP just finished a consultation report on King's Transit and the work of driving people across the valley, and so we should be seeing that within the next month or so, and then from there the decisions will be made. Valley Waste, of course, is looking at the extended producer responsibilities under EPR, so there's changes coming from that as well. Valley Waste is doing some significant modifications up at the at the plant, and so you will see days where you will not be able to bring stuff up there, but they're pretty good at keeping the word out. And as well, we are looking at new contracts in Valley Waste with regards to our curbside pickup. And it's ongoing, and as well, we have just over 100 and some odd policies to review. They've been put together with as part of this new IMSA, and so we will keep busy on that as well. I also had the pleasure of attending an immigration roundtable on the 7th of February up at the Old Orchard Inn. The Deputy Minister of Labour and Skills and Immigration was there, and the discussion was on attracting and welcoming, supporting newcomers in our community, and just the different programs that are available for bringing immigrants into our area. I also had the pleasure of attending the curling club for the Nova Scotia Police Association curling bonspiel, and opening that up. Of course, February is African Heritage Month, and as always, Kings County holds the celebration for our area, and they just did a magnificent job with that. And of course, there were several tiny shelter meetings, both held by Open Arms and by the community, and we expect that there will be more meetings ongoingly, and that is my report. Councillor Maxwell.
Well, thank you, Mayor Snow. When I was looking at your report, I was a little bit perplexed to see that you and the Deputy Mayor met to discuss some 3-month planning. And being well aware that this council has asked repeatedly for strategic planning sessions and we have never received such, I'm wondering what type of planning you and the Deputy Mayor were doing during that January 31st meeting.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Maxwell. We were looking at our availability and what meetings we would have to substitute for each other. So when I'm not available for the IMSA, Deputy Mayor attends that, and when she's not available for sewer, I attend that, and as well, I do attend the sewer meeting as in my role, ex officio role as the mayor, and she has some vacation planned, so we were looking at that, and I as well have some vacation plans, so we were just looking at how to coordinate those things. It was purely personal schedule planning that we were looking at.
Okay, thank you. Is it necessary that we put our personal planning on our reports?
I don't know if it is or not, but I feel that when I'm not going to be here, that I always send a memorandum to council to let them know that I'm not going to be here. And I feel that it behooves me to have it set up that there is a replacement for me who is ready to take that. So I think it's important that that appears here so that you know that I do take my responsibilities very seriously.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving right along to our new business. The first item of new business that we have is a recommendation from the Investment Advisory Committee. And Deputy Mayor, did you want to lead us on this one?
Thank you, Your Worship. So there is a recommendation there from the Investment Advisory Committee that, so I'll just go through that. The Investment Advisory Committee met on February the 14th, 2024, and the investment advisor's contract was extended until September 2024 to ensure that the perpetual fund management and plan maintain stability in the turbulent financial markets. This goal was achieved, and things are going along very well. However, with the impending 2024 municipal election, the Investment Advisory Committee is recommending to Council that the TD Wealth Investment Advisor be provided with a further 1-year extension until September 2025. An RFP for financial services shall be issued in April 2025 with the appointment of the advisor by September 2025. So it would be recommended that council approve a one-year extension for the TD Wealth Advisor, Investment Advisor, until September 2025. Did you want me to move that? I so move. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Huntley, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve a one-year extension until September of 2025 of the current contract with the TD Wealth Investment Advisor. Discussion? Councillor Maxwell?
Oh, thank you. Just wondering why we can't handle this before an election. I mean, it's part of our job to look after these things. I'm wondering why it's necessary to extend, why we just can't go ahead and, put out the RFD and RFP and take care of it, why we have to postpone.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, as the chair, did you wish to address that query?
Sure, through the chair. So if council remembers, we had done a change in our investment policy statement. And that took probably about 8 or 9 months for the minister to actually sign off on that. Because of interest rate increases, et cetera, we haven't really enacted that investment, the changes in the investment policy statement. So to say it's been somewhat turbulent over the last year and a half is an understatement. We're comfortable with the work that our investment advisor is doing. When we have the election this year, presumably the mix of that committee will change. So in order to establish sort of some continuity, that was really the rationale as to why we were looking to keep the investment advisor in place until 2025, really for continuity. I don't know if I've answered your question. I'm not sure. That's really the best answer that I can provide.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zabian.
Thank you, and thanks, Deputy, for that. Could we table this for a little bit and just kind of see where the portfolio's at? That might be nice to just see kind of the flow of it the last little while. And then, because we've got he's there until September, correct? Right now. September. Right. So, I mean, we're only in February right now. So, I mean, we could table this for a month and come back to it, correct? It's not going to change anything.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor, I'll ask you as the chair of that committee to respond to.
Certainly through your worship to Councillor Zabian. So when a request for proposal goes out, it's quite a process to do that. It's usually a process that takes about between 3 and 4 months. Sometimes there's a lot of applications that come in. The investment advisor that sits with us and part of the selection process is somebody that can actually attend monthly meetings with us and provide us with a certain type of reporting that we require. So it gets very granular on what we actually need from the investment advisor. I suppose it could be tabled. I don't know how that would help at this juncture, because if we're going to start it, looking for another investment advisor, we would probably want to do it sooner than later. That's all I can say.
All right, thank you. Councillor Maxwell?
Yes, thank you. I really didn't understand the answer given to my question. I don't understand how we'll be providing continuity by waiting for a new council. We've already got people in place on the Investment Advisory Committee. We have continuity right now with the people that are there, and I don't know why we would be waiting to, set this an investment advisor. It just, I just think that it's something that the committee could do. I'm wondering if the committee has even discussed this. I don't understand why the committee wouldn't have discussed whether that this would be something they could handle, or if they can't handle it, then that's another thing. But if they can handle it, then I think we should carry on with the work that we've been tasked to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. CAO, did you want to?
Through you, your worship, and if I'm incorrect in paraphrasing what you were stating, it's a 3 or 4 month process to select, minimum to select a new investment advisor. That probably takes you into July, August. There's a October municipal election. There could be a complete new mix around the council table at that point in time. So you would have a new investor that had only really been active in the portfolio for a couple of months, and potentially a different council with different committee members. I believe that was always my understanding in the discussion as to what we meant when we looked at continuity.
Thank you, CAO. And before you, I see your light, Councillor Gerard, with regards to the level of effort. So putting out the RFP is purely a staff function, and it is a very high level of work, and as well the review at the end of the day of all of the proposals that come in, because the answers are all weighted. It's I think we had a five-page grid the last time for evaluating our advisors when they came in, but the level of work for staff is quite onerous on this one. Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Worship, and this isn't necessarily a question about extending it, or actually, when you look at what's written, we're well within the parameters. If we extend it to September 2025, we're going to be putting out an RFP in April 2025. Having said that, am I not correct in saying this has been extended a couple of times because of COVID, or?
No,
is
this
my
has only
memory-
been extended once,
Once.
and that was because of the crazy markets and the changes that we had made. So the thing to remember about this perpetual fund is that as much as we have control of it, we are still controlled by the government. So any changes that we want to make with regards to the policy or the way that we invest, we have to make those changes here at council. We make our approval, and then they have to go to the finance department at the provincial government for them to sign off on them, and that's probably a 3-month iteration. So even though we thought we were ahead of the curve the first time making the changes, when we could see where the economy was going, we were delayed because of what was occurring at the provincial level. So, but this contract has only been extended once.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Councillor York.
Thank you. I just want a bit of clarification, and I apologize, I forget who it said, so I can't ask through the chair. However, this was a recommendation put forward by the deputy, but it came from the committee itself after, I'm assuming, conversation was had, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes. This was a recommendation from the Investment Advisory Committee, and it was discussed very fully with actually the investment advisor had left the room, so we were actually just our staff and committee members.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so yes, I was just going to say essentially the same thing, that it was discussed at committee level, obviously, and we did it during an in-camera session, and then what we have to do is, it was unanimously voted that we would do this, and that we then have to come to council and make the recommendation, and then it's either passed or not passed at council, because council has the final say. So I just wanted to clear that, but you already did for Councillor York. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. All right, moving right along, if there's no further discussion on this matter, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve a 1-year extension until September of 2025 of the current contract with the TD Wealth Investment Advisor. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, Item B is the future of climate resilient coastal communities. So this morning, the NSFM Board of Directors had a conversation or a briefing from the Minister of Environment and the Minister of Municipal Affairs for the announcement that they were making at 10 o'clock this morning with the province's plan to protect people, homes, and nature from climate change along our coast. So basically, what this means is that the Coastal Protection Act is not going to be legislated, and they've put together this new plan, and basically what they're doing is they're going to push down the work for coastal flooding and how we make those changes down to the municipal level. There is going to be more details coming. I did receive a letter at the end of the day with regards to this, and it will appear in our package next month. And as well, I'm going to say that the Ecology Action Center is not very happy with this. You will recall that we had supported the Coastal Protection Act with them, so they're calling on us again. The NSFM put out a letter this morning saying that we are disappointed that we're no longer taking a whole of province approach, but we would be seeking clarification. There is intention to bring the ministers together to provide a briefing to the mayors and CAOs I believe it will be next week. On Wednesday evening, but there'll be more information coming out of that. But the reason I put it on the agenda tonight is because this is one of those very important topics that people are talking about, and we don't think of Kentville as being a coastal community. However, we do have a river that runs through us that is a tidal river, so it does have an effect on things. The other thing as well is that the provincial government is making a $1.6 million investment in municipal floodline maps. Now, you've heard that in this room before with Director Bell and Kirsten Duncan, who were talking about municipal floodline maps that we were looking at, and that we had partnered with Wolfville and Kings County on doing some of this work. Kirsten actually has all of this on her computer in her GIS program from that perspective. So what the province is saying is that they should have all the rivers and lakes done, mapped out by 2027. The other thing as well is that the email that I forwarded to you has the link to the province's map where you can actually go and look at what they are proposing the coastal flooding which will occur because of climate change by 2100. So we're looking at the 100 meters off of the ocean on most of this. So there will be more information coming, but I thought it was important that it come under our new business so that you wouldn't be blindsided by it, and the fact that we were looking at this Coastal Protection Act as, and there was a lot of consultation that went into it. It was 5 years of consultation before the act was finalized. So it's a little bit disappointing from that perspective. Otherwise, after the briefing next week, we should have a slide deck which I will forward to all of you. So the next matter that we have was another one of the recommendations from our public hearing this afternoon. And that recommendation from our planners was to amend policy G62, public participation policy on planning. And the motion is that council direct the CAO to amend policy G62 as detailed in the MGA, the Municipal Government Act. If someone could move that, please. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councillor Zabian for the second, thank you. So it has been moved and seconded that council direct the CAO to amend the policy G62 public participation policy planning as detailed in the MGA. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is that council direct the CAO to amend the policy G62, public participation policy planning as detailed in the MGA. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right, and we're moving on now to our correspondence. We have 6 items under correspondence, and 1 item is in camera under legal. So we have correspondence from Janet Speck, flooding and property damage. 1 from Bunny Bennett, flooding property damage. Gary Cleveland, engineer stormwater report. Jenna Gabbery, homeless pallet community. Herb McIntosh, housing crisis. Robert McCullough, pallet community. CAO, did you wish to speak to the matter?
So the one item I would speak to is the request for the design point engineering report on the assessment of the Condon Avenue flooding situation. That will be available to the public either this Thursday or Friday. It would have been available tonight, but I had asked that I be brought up to speed and taken on site to better understand before we release it. But Thursday or Friday of this week, that report will be available to the public. So.
Thank you, CAO. Deputy Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Worship. I was going to ask if the CAO could comment on the, yes, on that very issue, so thank you for that.
All right. Okay, we are now at the section of our meeting with public comments. So citizens are invited to make comment to council on any matter currently before this council. And please state your name and your address as Kentville, please. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Robert McCullough. I live in North Kentville. I'm part of the group that's fighting the pallet community destined for Exhibition Street in North Kentville. And I'm just surprised at what we perceive to be a lack of support from town council. I know it's destined for provincial land. I know it's a provincial initiative. But you've got to remember that a lot of the residents surrounding that property are Kentville residents. So I'm just surprised at how much, again, lack of interest. It's hard to put it into words in the sense that, I'll use an example, because all we keep hearing is, that's not our issue. You have to talk to the province. We can't talk because it's a private issue. Policy says we can't comment on that. And it's just shocking that you have constituents in North Kentville, and you're not, this is the perception we're receiving. We're not being heard. And I can use a very simple example. We bought a dishwasher a few years ago. Great serviceman, great product, great price, great delivery, great installation, worked great for 3 months, then it fell apart. So what did we do? We called the store where we bought it from. Their response was, I'm sorry, you have to call the distributor. Okay, where's the distributor? Kansas City, Missouri. We called Kansas City, Missouri, and we ended up in India. So we bought a product from a company in New Minas. We end up talking about it to somebody in India. And I'm feeling the same way here. And I don't understand the lack of foresight on your part. This is not a North Kentville problem. This is a McDougall Heights problem. This is a Fox Hill problem. And this is especially a downtown Kentville business problem. It's overrun by the homeless now. Those 20 pallets, let's face it, it's gonna grow to 30, 50, 60. You can only imagine what that parking lot in that area is gonna look like in 5 years' time. It's gonna affect everybody in Kentville, especially the downtown business core. So I don't know why anybody, my suggestion, I'm looking at it here, Kentville, a breath of fresh air. Might as well change it to Kentville, homeless capital of Nova Scotia, because that's what it's gonna be. And please don't tell me that we're not sympathetic to the homeless. We are. We don't want it where it's located. It makes no sense whatsoever on a number of different reasons that I don't have time to talk about tonight, obviously. What I'm asking for is support from the council. We are constituents, we are taxpayers, we voted for you, we deserve it. And I'm just asking for support from the council and stop being put off, because I got a little story to tell you. We're not going away, I can promise you that. I appreciate the time, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm his wife, Janice Palmer from North Kentville. I'm very disappointed tonight to see Councillor Gerard bring up an issue that is extremely important to the town of Kentville, not just to the North Kentville residents. And only one person supported him. Like, what gives? I'm shocked. This is going to get around town. Is it not interesting enough to you to talk about? Do you not care about your constituents? It makes me wonder. It makes me shake my head. And Mayor Snow, when we're talking, could you please look at us? Your head was down the whole time that my husband was talking. I don't know if you're taking notes, but
I am.
you are?
Yeah.
But I would appreciate if you would just look at us when
Okay.
we're speaking here. Thank you. So Councillor Gerard, thank you for bringing this up tonight. I'm sorry to see that people didn't support you on that. You're supporting us, you're helping us. It's the same as Whitney Pier, the same as Sackville. One councillor is speaking up for each of these groups. One out of all these towns. You don't know what you're in for, but we can see it. I'm not sure you know where the direction of Kentville is going. You gotta look to the future, okay? I don't know why you didn't want to talk about it tonight. Did you want to get home early or something? That's how it came across. Do you not care? I don't like speaking in public, and I'm not the kind of, I want to be retired. I want to stay home, enjoy my town. I don't want to come here and speak to you like this. But it's very, very upsetting at the way you're acting. It's the same with Kings County, and we'll be there at that meeting as well. I don't care, because North Kentville, Meadowview is a community. We support each other. So I will be at the Kings County meeting also speaking up. Thank you. So just think about this, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and CAO. I just wanted to comment on a couple items that were brought to my attention this past week. The first was a comment that I actually read, and it was about Finneys. It said that Finneys and Zabians have a very rich history in this valley, touching many lives over many years. I thought that was quite fitting, considering that they have been around at least 50 years. I'm sure you've all seen their signs or been in their stores back when they were in the Towers Mall and different locations. So considering that the legal budget, as the CAO mentioned, that the budgets are coming up and everything, and we know that the legal budget is way over budget, and I just want to know, like, why isn't this council stepping up to stop the unnecessary lawsuit that is supposed to now continue till 2025? We have so many more things to waste than wasting tax dollars on a lawsuit that is going nowhere for an empty building lot next door here. We can all see Andrew's beautiful building progress over here on Webster Street. I'm sure you've all seen it. It was the same contractor that was hired to do his $3 or $4 million building next door, that this town would get all the revenue and tax dollars from. So I don't know why you can't have a meeting and bring this back to the table. I think it's necessary. I think otherwise there's organizations out there that they're all looking for money. Every organization, nonprofit, homeless, we have roads to look after, we have sidewalks, and the list is long and deep. So the second thing that I actually heard was a developer that I actually know had plans into the town here. And he had those plans in for 60 days. And I know that right now, we didn't have a planning developer, we were switching to an outside organization to look after that. So, things happen, you know? The reason they hadn't gotten back to him, maybe was because they're switching to someone outside. Well, can you imagine what happened during COVID when you pulled the plug on that development? So, once again, common sense should prevail here and bring this back to the table. I think it's an absolute waste of money. I think it's ridiculous, and I think who would not want a beautiful, another business, so the businesses could come to Kentville, beautiful new building in Kentville. We don't have a lot of new buildings in Kentville, and I think that this would actually look wonderful on the main street here. So I think you guys all should dig deep, consider bringing it back to the table. Because if you were, you know, if the town was unable to get back to that developer for over 60 days, that was just for his plans, that wasn't his permits, that wasn't his financing, that wasn't all the things that go with a big development. You know, it just makes common sense to bring this back. Yeah, I guess that's basically what I wanted to say, was just to stop wasting the tax dollars on these frivolous lawsuits and get with the program and get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ruth Doogie, and I too live in North Kentville. I came here tonight. I'm newer to the community. My husband and I moved here about 5 years ago, and my husband owns a business, and I work for Nova Scotia Health. Not here on behalf of Nova Scotia Health, on behalf of myself, my husband, and our son just moved here as well, new to the community as well. Came back from Alberta and is opening his own business. Have certain concerns. A real concern is that I've seen here is the lack of interest and concern from our local governments about their constituents' concerns that are raised. Again, saying what Bob, Janice reiterating it, the seemingly passing the buck. When you have a town like Kentville, a community project, whether it's dealing with homelessness or whatever new build, that needs to have community discussion. Homelessness is one of the topics that needs to be addressed holistically. Homeless are part of the community, but so are we. So to segregate a certain segment of the population and just address the concerns for one segment, you're not addressing the actual homeless issue in a holistic and proactive way. We knew about this pilot project, no matter which site it was going to be back in October, thinking and understanding it's a provincial project, but still to have leadership within the community, knowing that homelessness affects very much so downtown businesses and all the surrounding areas. Why this council and the mayor would not hold community discussions, why it takes community members to have and beg leaders from their local governments to come in and have a discussion, and still not even having answers at that point. So I just want to be on record that I'm extremely disappointed that I am not going away. I went door to door when I first found out where the location was going to be. I had deep concerns. We're not against the homeless. We understand it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed in a holistic way, not a knee-jerk reaction. We've had over 2 years to deal with homelessness in our community. Over COVID, we saw the increase. Why it's been 2 years and all of a sudden, boom, we're doing this without having any discussion. I know, again, it's a provincial project, but still, we need to have local governments taking leadership, stepping up, and if our province won't do it, your job as our representatives needs to stand up and be leaders and show that you care and involve us, even if our province won't. It's disappointing, and I don't even have enough words how disappointed this is. You are seeing residents coming up and surrounding and local businesses with concerns around this, because there's, again, no information. So we're asking this council and the mayor to take some leadership in there and advocate on our behalf, to get the answers that we're asking, because we're asking the same questions and nobody's getting us the answers. So my ask to this council and the mayor, will you fight on our behalf to get the answers that we're asking? We're asking what sites were considered, if there was any impact assessments at all around this project. We're asking to be open and transparent. And no one's answered any of those questions, including John Lohr, our MLA, who is also housing minister. DNC couldn't get off their butts to come and even show their faces, so we understand, again, North Kentville has a history of being the place where everybody likes to put literal dump in, and been lied to by government officials, things hidden. So we're asking for this government, this municipal government, to show leadership and transparency. Thank you.
My name is Ron Cousins, and I don't pretend to be an expert on the subject, but in regards to the homeless and the tent people in the pallet places, all I know is what I saw in the newsreels, and what I see, and I see it over and over again, is there's one big important part missing out of the puzzle. And when the experts come here, they never mention it either. And that is the homeless people themselves. They need to form a committee. I'm not taking away from the experts that look after them. They're doing a good job, but they need, the people themselves have to do some work. I saw that in Halifax, the guy looking after the park where the tents were, he was shoveling snow. Why can't the people that are in the park shovel snow? And why can't they pick up their own garbage? And showed one tent place they had full of rats and they were feeding them. And that's the part missing. If any of you have ever read the book, The Grapes of Wrath, and I imagine most of you have, they showed these poor people, and they made a movie about it too. And when they got to this place they had, like the pallet village they got now, they said, the poor people said, well, who looks after this place? And the man running it said, you do. We form a committee and you look after it. And you all take turns doing the various jobs. I don't see, they wait on the people. They do it and I don't see the people doing anything. To me, that's what's wrong. And I'm speaking with ignorance because I don't know that much about it, but that's what I see. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fiona Van Wilkenberg, Wade Street. I'm sure you guys all are sick of me by now. I'd like to thank those of you who attended the community meeting on February 7th. I know I really appreciated seeing a lot of you there, and I think a lot of the community members did as well. Yeah, if nothing else, it was nice to talk to everyone. So my question might be better directed to Mr. Matart or maybe the CAO, but anyways, but I was just wondering if you would consider it a liability for the town of Kentville to connect water and sewer to a development that doesn't meet any building codes or requirements. I can leave my contact information if you guys don't already have it. Anyways, thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right, thank you all very much. The council has 3 items concerning legal, which must be conducted in a closed session. We require a motion to go into the closed session to discuss the agenda items. We will not be returning to YouTube for completion of the meeting. And the motion is to move into a closed session to discuss the agenda items. Thank you. And the second? Councillor York, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council move into the closed session. The question is on adoption of the motion to move into the closed session. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And the time is 7:09.